Hello YouTube, this is the Hobbyist. I hope all of you are having a fantastic time. And in today's video, I would like to talk to you about some of the shared common things I have observed from reading Stephen King's The Dark Tower series and his It. And my main argument is that the three main characters from It, namely Richie Tozier, Bill Denbrough, and Ben Hanscom, I believe these three characters are the original archetypes of the OG Ka-tet, the original Ka-tet we have read from Stephen King's Dark Tower Book 3, The Wizard and the Glass, namely Cuthbert Allgood, Elaine Johns, and of course Roland Deschain. And the reason why I'm making this video is that I have read somewhere that the two movie adaptations of Stephen King's novels that are coming out this year, namely Stephen King's It and his Dark Tower Book 1, The Gunslinger, these two works are going to launch a shared Stephen King universe. Practicability aside, can you afford both of the main characters from The Gunslinger, namely Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey, after this movie has launched? Can you afford them to come back in other movies, such as, for example, if you were to make another movie adaptation of The Stand, can you afford to cast Matthew McConaughey as Randall Flagg again? That's my main concern. But practicability aside, I can see some shared things between the Dark Tower series and his It. Although I haven't finished the entirety of It yet, I'm almost halfway through, but already I can see some things that are shared between the two book universes. One of them, of course, is the turtle. And of course, we know that the turtle is one of the symbolic animals of the beam in Stephen King's The Dark Tower series. And there is a turtle-shaped artifact that has the capacity to momentarily distract people or incapacitate the lowmans in the Dark Tower series. In It, at the very beginning, it was said that in the Denbrough residence, in the basement of the Denbrough residence, there was a turtle-shaped artifact that momentarily distracted the attention of Bill Denbrough's younger brother. And it was later said again and again in the novel that the turtle couldn't help us by Stan Uris. And I have yet to discover the significance of the turtle in It, but I get a feeling that it is very similar to that of the turtle in the Dark Tower, which is a larger benevolent force that is currently beyond human understanding. You can say that it is in the realm of magic that manifests itself in the shape of a turtle-like artifact. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my current understanding of the significance of the turtle in both of Stephen King's novels that we are discussing here. And the other thing that I can see both of the works share involves their villainous characters. Readers of the Dark Tower series know that near the end of the Dark Tower saga, there was a villain named Dandelo, and this guy, he performs comedic acts and consumes his victims' emotions. And I read somewhere that this character Dandelo is related to the Toadish vampire, aka the Pennyworth clown in It. And that's the two things I can see these two novels share right off the bat. Now let's go back and talk about the three characters from It and the three characters from the Dark Tower series. And I believe, forgive me if this video is redundant, forgive me if you have already picked up on this, but when I did a very quick Google search on Cuthbert Allgood space Richie Tozier, nothing comes up. Nobody is talking about the similarities between the Ka-tet from the Dark Tower series and the Losers Club from It. So I'm compelled to make this video. Alright? And the first time I have noticed the similarities between Cuthbert Allgood and Richie Tozier was at the point where Richie just made a deal with his father to mow his lawn for some penny cash to buy the admission ticket fee at the theater for himself, Beverly Marsh, and Ben Hanscom to some B-graded horror movies. At the entrance of the theater when they were waiting for Ben Hanscom, and Richie Tozier was playing with his yo-yo. And at that time when I was reading this, I remember saying to myself, oh man, Richie Tozier is a character who constantly cracks jokes, and he also has a little toy that he keeps his hands occupied with. This character reminds me of another character from King's novels, but at that point I just can't pinpoint which character he reminds me of. And later I thought he reminded me of Eddie Dean from the Dark Tower series, because we all know that Eddie Dean also loves cracking jokes. And Eddie Dean also had something that he kept his hands occupied with, which is his wood carving habit. Remember, he first carved out a very elegant slingshot, and later he carved the key with which they extracted Jake from our world to theirs, right? So that's that. And at that point I thought, oh man, Richie Tozier is the archetype of Eddie Dean. But later when I read more about the interactions between the members of the Losers Club from it, I realized that there's a lot of similarity between Bill Denbrough and the character Roland Deschain. And they're both the leaders of their groups, and they're also very respected and very loved by the rest of the members of the groups. But if we accept the assumption that Bill Denbrough is the archetype of Roland Deschain, then we run into the problem that whereas Bill Denbrough is a contemporary of all the rest of the members of the Losers Club, Roland Deschain is more of a father figure to Eddie Dean than a contemporary. And can you take a guess who is a contemporary of Roland, who loves Roland a lot, and who also constantly cracks jokes? Cuthbert Allgood. And it was mentioned time and again in the Dark Tower series that Eddie Dean reminds Roland of Cuthbert Allgood, in the sense that they both views the act of cracking jokes as a method of dealing with their stresses. And in my favorite scene of The Wizard in the Glass, where the Ka-tet led by Roland Deschain had a standoff against the big coffin hunters in a bar where Cuthbert Allgood stood up for the mentally challenged Shimi, he was wielding a slingshot instead of a high caliber revolver. And while you can say that a slingshot is not a toy and that anything can become a weapon in the hands of a gunslinger, but in my opinion, slingshot belongs to the same category as the yo-yo. And I think that's the main reason that when I was reading the part where Richie Tozier was playing a yo-yo, subconsciously I felt that there was another male character from the Dark Tower series that resembles him a lot. And as for the third main character from the Losers Club, Ben Hanscom, the young Ben Hanscom is described as a very kind, very intelligent, but also an obese boy, right? And when we look at the pictorial representation of Elaine Jones from the Dark Tower series in Marvel's Dark Tower series comic books, we see that the similarities, the resemblance between Elaine Jones and Ben Hanscom is uncanny. And this leads me to believe that the character designer of the comic books, of the Dark Tower comic books, had already picked up on this, had already picked up on the character continuation from it to the Dark Tower series. And as for the main character, the leader of the Losers Club, Bill Denbrough, Stuttering Bill, the Big Bill, I venture to say that Bill Denbrough is an idealized version of Stephen King himself. And whereas Bill Denbrough in the book has a speech impediment where he stutters when he gets nervous, the author Stephen King in real life, from the video records I can find for his interviews and his speeches, he also has a speech impediment where he has trouble differentiating the L sound and the N sound. For example, if he were to pronounce low man, he would say no man. And I'm not holding this against him. I still respect him as a terrific author. I'm just pointing out a fact, and that based on the assumption that every author has the natural desire to write himself as the leader of his childhood group, and the similarity between Bill Denbrough's speech impediment and Stephen King's speech problem, I venture to say that Bill Denbrough is an idealized version of the author himself. And well, that's all I have to say in this video. I hope that you guys, my fellow Stephen King lovers, found this video to be entertaining and informative, and please comment, like, and share this video, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Bye bye.